Welcome to a podcast by opentheword.org, where we discuss a bit of Bible, a bit of life, and a bit of politics.
Hi, my name is Dean Smith, and in this podcast, I want to talk about the day the sky split open. A while back, I wrote an article on opentheword.org about an asteroid named 2018 AH that would be passing by Earth on December 27th, 2021. Now, by the time you hear this podcast, it may have already happened. There was never anything to worry about since it would be about 4.5 million kilometers out when it hurtled by. But at the end of that article, I wrote about the odd connection that a story in the Jerusalem Post about 2018 AH had with a verse in the book of Revelation, the Apostle John's vision of the end times. And I wondered how many people actually read whole articles these days. So I thought I would focus on the last couple of paragraphs and put that odd connection front and center in this podcast. In his Jerusalem Post article entitled Large Asteroid Stronger Than Nuke Heading Toward Earth Late December, author Aaron Reek compared 2018 AH with the asteroid that exploded over the Tunguska River in Siberia, Russia on June 30th, 1908. Because the two asteroids are roughly the same size, Reek used this comparison to give an idea of the kind of damage 2018 AH could cause if it hit Earth, as it seems to be passing by every few years or so. The last time it visited Earth, as the name suggests, was 2018. If anything, at 100 meters, about 30 stories in size, 2018 AH is probably bigger than the one that exploded several kilometers above the Siberian forest over 110 years ago. The asteroid flattened about 80 million trees in an area roughly the size of the landmass of New York City, and it's estimated that the winds reached speeds of 97,000 kilometers an hour, and people as far away as Washington, D.C. felt the airways and tremors from the blast. Fortunately, it exploded over a sparsely populated area of Siberia, and it's believed only 3 people died from the blast. But in the years following the devastation, testimonies emerged of people who witnessed the massive explosion from afar, obviously, and one of them in particular provides a description eerily similar to what the Apostle John saw in his vision of the end-time events, written down in the book of Revelation around 95 AD. Now, we need to understand that if John was seeing events taking place centuries in the future, he needed to find words in a limited first century vocabulary to describe what he's seeing. In Revelation chapter 6, John spoke of the opening of 7 seals. When the 6th seal opened, John, who had no idea what asteroids were, used a word the people of his day were familiar with and said he saw stars falling from heaven. And in verse 13, John compared the multiple hits to a massive wind ripping the figs from the branches of a fig tree and slamming them into the ground. It would cause such panic that the rich and the poor would hide in caves. Now, it's also possible that John was seeing a nuclear attack. Considering the most advanced weapons of the day were swords and spears, how would he describe an intercontinental missile that leaves the Earth's atmosphere for re-entering in a fiery blast close to the target and launching multiple nuclear warheads? John used the only word in the vocabulary that came even close: stars. But as the Apostle John described what he was seeing, the apostle saw a second strange thing happening. He said, the sky split apart. John writes, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its unripe figs when shaken by a great wind. And then he adds in the next verse, The sky was split apart like a scroll when it's rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Revelation 6, verse 13 and 14. Obviously, John had no idea what was going on and used a concept from his day, the opening of a scroll, to describe what he's seeing. We know that the sky did not actually split apart, but this is how it appeared in John's vision, and it was all connected to these stars slamming into the earth. And this is eerily similar to a description of the Tunguska asteroid explosion provided by a man named S. Semenoff a few years after the explosion. Semenoff was about 65 kilometers or 40 miles away when the blast occurred. Semenoff described what he saw this way. I suddenly saw that directly to the north, over Unkul's Tunguska Road, the sky split in two and fire appeared high and wide over the forest. The split in the sky grew larger and the entire northern side was covered with fire. At that moment, I became so hot that I couldn't bear it, as if my shirt was on fire. From the northern side where the fire was came strong heat. I wanted to tear off my shirt and throw it down, but then the sky shut closed and a strong thump sounded, and I was thrown a few meters. After that, such noise came as if rocks were falling or cannons were firing. The earth shook, and when I was on the ground, I pressed my head down, fearing rocks would smash it. When the sky opened, hot wind raced between the houses like from cannons, which left traces on the ground. Twice in his description, Semenoff said the sky split in two, and then a few sentences later, he saw the sky closing, and then seconds later, opening up again. This is how it looked when the asteroid exploded over the Siberian forest. And coincidentally, this is exactly the same description that the Apostle John gave when he saw the stars of heaven slamming into the earth, and he saw the sky splitting apart. We know that the Tunguska event was not what the Apostle John saw, because in his vision there were multiple strikes and people fleeing in terror. But the similarities reveal that Semenoff and the Apostle John witnessed similar atmospheric events, validating John's description of asteroid hits in the end times.
Thanks again for joining us on our podcast. Please check out our website at opentheword.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to receive notifications of future broadcasts. As well, please take a moment to provide a rating and even a review. Thanks again for listening.